that paragraph.
Yes.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for joining in and giving your precious time. I know your schedule has been very busy, but in spite of that, you really prepare for this class. So we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 9. Chapter 9 is the answers by citing the Lord's version. And the text for today is text 35. And we are on the last paragraph. The Lord can award anyone. Last but one paragraph. The Lord can award everyone and anyone and everyone liberation. So over to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, thank you so much again for giving me the opportunity to do the service. And without the mercy of my Guru, all the Gurus, without the mercy of Radha Krishna, and with the mercy and blessings of all of you, I wouldn't have been able to do the service. So thank you very much again. Okay, thank you, Mataji. So I think, as you said, so has someone done the Mangalacharan, or shall I quickly do that?
Mataji, we haven't done it, so we can quickly do that.
Okay.
Quickly do that.
So my prayer is done. Om Jnana Timirandhyasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tashmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manupishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandyaham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Viksha Kavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindha Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhupaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, verse 35. Yatha Mahanti Bhutani Bhuteshu Chavecheshvanu Pravishtani Apravishtani Tatha Teshu Nateshvaham. Translation: O Brahma, please know that the universal elements enter into the cosmos and at the same time do not enter into the cosmos. Similarly, I myself also exist within everything created, and at the same time, I am outside of everything. So we move down to the second, the last, last but one, yes, verse. So I think the other verses have been covered by other Matajis and Prabhujis. So I'll just read this one verse. The Lord can award anyone and everyone liberation or mukti from the bondage of material existence. Yet he rarely awards the privilege of love of Godhead. As confirmed by Narada, muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. This transcendental devotional service of the Lord is so wonderful that the occupation keeps the deserving devotee always wrapped in psychological activities without deviation from the absolute touch. Thus, love of Godhead developed in the heart of the devotee is a great mystery. Brahmaji previously told Narada that the desires of Brahmaji are never unfulfilled because he's always absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Nor has he any desire in his heart save and except the transcendental service of the Lord. That is the beauty of bhakti. Where is it? that is the beauty and mystery of the process of Bhakti Yoga. As the Lord's desire is infallible because he's Achyuta, similarly, the desires of the devotees in the transcendental service of the Lord are also Achyuta, infallible. This is very difficult. However, for the layman to understand without knowledge of the mystery of devotional service, as it is very difficult to know the potency of touchstone. As touchstone is rarely found, a pure devotee of the Lord is also rarely to be seen, even amongst millions of liberated souls. Kotishvapi Mahamune, out of all kinds of perfections attained by the process of knowledge, yoga perfection in devotional service is the highest of all and the most mysterious also, even more mysterious than the 8 kinds of mystic perfections attained by the process of yogic performances. In the Bhagavad Gita 18.64, the Lord therefore advised Arjuna about this Bhakti Yoga. Sarva Guya Tamam Bhuya Shrinu Me Paramam Vachaha. Hare Krishna. So a beautiful verse again from the Chatushloki. Okay, so we are in the third verse of the Chatushloki. And as we know, in the Chatushloki, we are almost towards the end of the third verse. So we have seen in the previous verses that the Lord describes the Jiva, the individual soul, the Bhagavan, the relationship and the connection with Bhagavan or God, and Maya. So these are the 4 things that are answered in the 4 verses of the Chatushloki. So again, keeping that in mind, pay my obeisances to my guru and start my start our discussion. And if there are any mistakes, any problem, any corrections, please do correct me as I'm discussing this. Okay, so in the first verse, of the Chatushloki, God talks about his own Swarupa, so Swarupa of God, of Krishna. In the second verse, we see Krishna talking about Maya, or the material energy, the illusory material energy of the Lord, which is also a part of the Lord and acts under the guidance of the Lord. And in the third verse, we are talking about the Jiva, or the true identity of the Jiva and the relationship. So very, very quickly, in a couple of minutes, the first verse of the Chatushloki, the Lord, just because there is a continuous, there is a link to all the verses, the Lord starts by emphatically saying that I existed before creation, before everything else. And I am beyond Brahman effulgence, I'm beyond the universe, and I continue to exist during the creation, and I exist even after destruction. So I am always there, and I am the source of everything. So he establishes the fact that, this is a supreme position that nobody can take. There cannot be an election of who's the best fit for taking up the position of God. No, God is only one, and he's not replaceable by anyone. So that is emphatically established in the first Chatushloki. The second verse talks about, the Maya, or and the Lord says that whatever appears in this world, in this universe, unless and until it is connected to me, it is useless. So they may appear to be useful. People might think that, oh, okay, my house, my car, my job, everything is useful to me. But unless and until the work they do, the things they're surrounded with, everything is connected to the Lord, everything is a big zero. And that makes no sense, because it is all under illusion. And the Lord says that, this illusory power is the external energy of the Lord, which covers vidya, covers knowledge of the souls, and they put them under illusion or delusion through avidya or ignorance, through raga and dvesha, so through attachment, through envy, and they throws the jivas into the ocean of material existence. So that was the second verse. Now the third verse talks about the bhakta, who am I? And Krishna says, Brahma, please know that all the universal elements who enter into the cosmos, they are at the same time, I can enter into them, but at the same time, I do not enter into them as well. So I exist within everything, and at the same time, I am outside everything. And to understand his personality, the Lord gives us the examples of the gross elements of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which were created right at the beginning of creation. So when the material energy, the dormant material energy, was glanced upon by Mahavishnu, that agitated the dormant material energy. And as we know, two things happened simultaneously. The first thing that happened was that the material energy became activated to work like the three gunas. So the three gunas are the active portion of the material energy. And those three gunas, sattva, raja, and tama, they pull the strings of how a jiva works. The second thing that happened was that the five gross elements were created, and they put themselves into different combinations to create the different material entities, material bodies rather. And the souls entered those different types of material bodies based on what the soul had attached to it, because it all depends on the soul's desire, the last thing the soul thoughts, the quality, and what the soul carries with it from the previous birth in their subtle body. So the Lord says that although these material elements, they combine themselves to become the different material bodies, in spite of that, these material elements, they also have independent existence. They also exist separately. So to make himself understood, the Lord says that I am like that. So I can be inside the material bodies, but I am also independent. I am also outside. And these elements, just like these gross elements, they existed before the bodies were formed. Similarly, I existed before the entire creation happened. And even after the material bodies, they deteriorate, these five elements will still remain. So similarly, I will also remain. So I am independent. I am everywhere. I am in every material. I'm in every object in this material universe. However, I am still independent. So what comes out through the first part of this verse is that, and in the purport rather, it comes out that the Lord is trying to say that, or we understand that Krishna is everywhere. And through our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam in the previous chapters, in the previous canto and this canto so far, we understand that Krishna is within us, in our body, in every single living entity's body, in the form of Paramatma. So we have to understand that we as jivas, we are not only part and parcel of Krishna, but we are also someone who carries Krishna. We carry Krishna within us. because Krishna lives within us as Paramatma. So Krishna is everywhere. As Super Soul, he's the silent witness. And if the jiva engages in material things, the Lord remains detached despite being inside the jiva. In the Upanishads, it says that, it's like taking or holding space in our, and if you cusp space within two palms, you would have space inside the palm, but you would also have space outside. And that is how we see God. We see the Lord inside us as Paramatma, but he's also around us everywhere. And it's also said in the Shastras that when we become devotees, the Paramatma resides in every single living entity, whether it's an ant, whether it's a human being, whether it's an elephant. But when one becomes a devotee, Krishna himself comes in his Bhagavan form and resides in the heart. So it's not just the Paramatma, the Bhagavan comes and resides in us, and Krishna takes direct control of his devotees. So the verse tells us so far that Krishna is within us, he's inside us as Paramatma or Bhagavan, but at the same time, he also is around us everywhere in this material world, and he's also in the spiritual world as Shamsundara with his eternal associates. Now, so far we've been talking about the Lord, where he resides, how he is. Now we said, when we started talking about that Chatushloki, we said that, this is a verse which is about the individual soul of wanting to find the answer to who am I. However, so far in this verse, we have just described the Lord. We've described the Lord being present everywhere. That is what the Lord is saying. I am inside and I'm outside. Now, why is that? So if we are supposed to find out through this verse, who am I? Because we found out the identity of God in the first Chatushloki. We found out the identity of Maya in the second Chatushloki. So this verse is supposed to tell us the third thing of the jiva. However, we've been talking about where the Lord resides so far. Why is that? And the answer given is through the purport, as Prabhupada describes so beautifully, is that because this verse tells us that this feature of seeing and perceiving and believing that the Lord is everywhere, inside everything movable and immovable, and also being within us and also detached from us, this entire concept is only and only possible to be understood by jivas who are bhaktas, who are devotees. And that is the direct link to who am I. The who am I, the answer to it is that the constitutional position of a soul is a bhakta, a devotee, someone who realizes that God is everywhere, Krishna is everywhere. We come from Krishna. Krishna resides in us. He's independent. He is the source of everything, and yet he's also within every living entity. And this understanding of the constitutional position of us being part and parcel of Krishna, as we know, Jiver Swarupaya Krishna Nityadas, and also wanting to serve Krishna, that is the answer to who am I. That's the first thing. That's the first identity of who am I. I am Krishna's Nityadas. Who is Krishna? He's the Lord, but he resides everywhere. And it is only by a true devotee, a bhakta, who's able to understand and believe, not just understand and perceive, but believe, have complete faith in this fact that Lord is everywhere. If not for a bhakta, this statement of the Lord that I am everywhere and inside and outside, that would be a completely useless statement, because there are people who do not even believe in God. There are impersonalists who think that, okay, so God is saying that he's everywhere, so God must be formless. But that is a misconception, because a devotee can see Krishna in everything. He sees Krishna in various forms. Some see Krishna as Rama, some see Krishna as Shyam Sundara, some see Krishna as Narayan. Some see Krishna as the Adi Shakti, some see Krishna and Radha together. So there are various ways in which one perceives Krishna. Some see Krishna as the cowherd boy eternally in Goloka, but it is only a bhakta who can see the form, the person Krishna, the personality Krishna, who is capable of doing everything. And that is the first answer to who am I, recognizing that such a conception about God is only recognizable by a bhakta. And who is a bhakta? A bhakta is someone who practices bhakti yoga. So the verse today we are doing is primarily around this concept of a bhakta, someone who has this eternal relationship to God, someone who, first of all, the first part of the verse talks about the concept of, where Krishna gives examples of, identifying, with the gross materials, etc. And then there's the idea about impersonalists not believing in such things. And then we come to the bhakta who practices bhakti yoga, who's not at all interested in liberation of any kind. So who is a bhakta? Now, we can spend hours and hours and hours on defining it. And even if we spend, lifetimes trying to define what is Krishna Prem and what is bhakti, we still won't have time to do things properly. So, so trying to do that in a few minutes would be difficult, but what we can do is just touch upon a few points. So, Krishna, just before Uddhav was going to Vrindavan, Krishna, or rather after Uddhava went to Vrindavan, he spoke to Nanda Maharaj and he spoke to Mother Yashoda, because they were missing Krishna very much. And he spoke to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda mother, saying that, you shouldn't miss Krishna. Krishna is not just your son. He's the Lord. He's Jagannath. He's the Lord of the whole universe. And Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda mother, they told him off. They said, first of all, what kind of a friend are you? You call yourself to be a devotee of Krishna, a friend of Krishna. What kind of a friend are you? You don't even know what it means to miss Krishna. First of all, you're trying to tell us, not only did we miss our son, but you're telling us that we are also missing the Supreme Lord, who could have stayed with us. So you're giving us double pain by telling us that we are separated not just from our son, but also from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you're trying to make us, you're trying to pacify us, but what you're ending up doing is you're making us more sad. So, we don't want any explanation you're giving. So that's the love that they had. They didn't even want to listen to Uddhav trying to say, this Krishna is for everybody. So Uddhav went to the gopis and saw the gopis crying and crying away and missing Krishna. And then Uddhav says the same thing. You shouldn't do this, but Krishna is, he's the king, he's the Supreme Personality. He has to look after everything. And the gopis just told him off even more. So gopis said, do you know what? Krishna went to Mathura. Mathura is not far from Vrindavan. If we want, we can go to Mathura twice a day. We can go and come back. Okay, but we never do that. We don't do that because we know Krishna is there for a reason, and that is his priority at the moment. And when he is happy, even if we are crying, we are still happy. Because what makes us happy is when Krishna is happy. So what if our happiness comes second or our happiness comes last? It doesn't matter because Krishna is happy. So don't try to tell us who Krishna is. We don't want to know that. We know who Krishna is because he's our Krishna and we are his. So don't try to define our relationship. So Uddhav understood what love is. And before leaving Vrindavan, Krishna wanted to give his flute to Radharani. He said, keep this, keep the flute so that when you remember me, this will make you remember me. And Radharani said, no, I don't want it. Why would I want your flute for? Because when will there be a time when I will not remember you? There will not be even an instance, a minute instance, where there would be a time where I wouldn't even remember you. I would be remembering you at all times, awake, asleep, at all times. So I wouldn't even require to have your flute just to remember you. And that is love, where it becomes difficult to forget somebody, where you don't have to actually, make an effort to remember somebody because they are always and always in your mind, because their priority, their happiness is a priority to you. And that is bhakti, that is pure Krishna praying, loving Krishna. So that is what we are all, what Krishna is saying is that, that is what one should aspire for. Because not all jivas, the jivas who have come into this material world, we have come away from Krishna. So it becomes more and more difficult for us to remember Krishna. But when we hear such things, that is what makes us want to love Krishna in that way, and not and want to practice bhakti in that way. So what is bhakti yoga? So yoga is a very, very popular word nowadays, isn't it? Because it's popular everywhere. But it is often understood to be a set of bodily postures and exercises, especially nowadays. But the Sanskrit word for yoga comes from yuj, or that which connects. Connects what? Connects the Jivatma to the Paramatma. So the process of connecting the soul to the supersoul, connecting the living entity to God in a proper bond is yoga. And that is the yoga, that is the connection we are all asked to do over here. So there are different kinds of yoga, as we know, as we have seen in Bhagavad Gita. And the purport we are reading and the paragraph we are reading today also mentions Jnana Yoga, where there is where the jnanis, they acquire knowledge about Krishna. To know Krishna, they acquire knowledge. There's Karma Yoga, where one does all actions, but they offer the fruits of one's action to Krishna. However, above all of that, so karma yoga, and then when one offers all their fruits to Krishna, it becomes nishkam karma. And then one can go up the ladder, the yoga ladder, it is, it goes up and up until it reaches bhakti yoga. But what is what Krishna is said, whether it's in the Bhagavad Gita or we understand through Srimad Bhagavatam, that above all kinds of yoga, whether it's karma yoga, jnana yoga, the paragraph today we also read about Ashtanga yoga, whatever yoga is done to know Krishna, to identify Krishna. The topmost is Bhakti Yoga. And what is Bhakti Yoga? It is nothing but it's the process of falling in love with Krishna through devotion, through seva. And it is the best because it contains all the ingredients of all the other yogas, all the other processes. So it incorporates all it incorporates the knowledge, it incorporates working for Krishna, it incorporates, doing everything for Krishna, but doing it just to love Krishna. So that is what Bhakti Yoga is. So when we go back to our initial question of who am I, the souls in their constitutional position in the spiritual world, that is their definition. They're Sat Chit Ananda as Krishna himself. And they're continuously in this loving relationship with Krishna. So Chaitanya Charitamrita gives the definition of love. Atmendriya priti pancha tare bulikam, Krishnendriya priti icha, dhare prema nam. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 4.165. And it says that the desire to gratify one's own senses, that is karma, that's lust, to desire one's own senses. But the desire to please the senses of Lord Krishna, that is prema, that is love. In this material world, we see things in very, very inverted ways. We, people define karma or lust as love. But at the end of the day, if we are just wanting things for ourselves, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that, in this material world, the jivas, they love themselves too much. And because they love themselves too much, they love everything that they are attached to, whether it's their possessions, whether it's the people in their lives. And in doing so, they forget their connection with the Supreme, because then their entire focus is on themselves. So they may say, no, I live for others, I live for so and so, but at the end of the day, it ends up just loving oneself. And so that is what we have to rise above. We have to rise above karma, and we have to rise towards loving Krishna. And what is loving Krishna? As it says, the verse says, Krishnendriya priti icha. That is the desire to please Krishna. That is love. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we are also, love is also defined. We are told that how should love be? Love should be ahaituki apratihata. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.6. Ahaituki apratihata. Unconditional, uninterrupted, selfless, devotional service. And that is very, very rare. And our paragraph says that too. It's very, very rare to have such love. So Krishna, going back to Uddhav again, even before Uddhav left for Vrindavan, Krishna talks about the gopis to Uddhava. And he says to Uddhava, Uddhava, the minds of those gopis, they're always absorbed in me. And their very lives are ever devoted to me. For my sake, they have abandoned everything related to their bodies, renouncing their ordinary happiness in life, as well as all religious duties. And they say, and these gopis, to them, I alone am their dear most beloved. And so nothing is more important to them. But, whether themselves or their worldly duties, nothing is more important to them than me. That's what Krishna says. And that is what true bhakti means. And being able to understand this, being able to follow this, we can never love as the gopis do, but we can endeavor to. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but hearing about the gopis, hearing about such true devotees, that is also very, very inspiring. And so where is all this leading to? It's leading to, talking about bhakti. So why is, the Shastras in so many places, why do they talk about bhakti so much? I mean, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that amongst all the different practitioners of bhakti, it's the gopis who can do everything. So, we know of the very, very popular pastime where Krishna in Dwarika had a headache once and wanted the dust from the feet of a pure devotee, from underneath the feet of a pure devotee. And he says that to Narad Muni. And Narad Muni goes everywhere, to Lord Brahma, to Lord Shiva, to all the great sages. Nobody would give him the dust. Why? Because they were scared that if Krishna takes the dust from from under their feet, then they would go to hell. That's not right, because he's the supreme. However, when Narad Muni goes to the gopis readily give that, because to them, they tell Narad Muni that it doesn't matter. Even if we go to hell for lifetimes after lifetimes, doesn't matter. Because what really matters is that Krishna will be better if he gets this dust. So that is the mood. That is the real identity of who I should be. That is the one that is what a soul is. A soul's true identity is to just love Krishna, to serve Krishna in whatever way, and put Krishna right at the forefront of their lives. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Maropi, Rakhopi, Joy Chatohar, Joy Chatohar. Whether you want to, kill me, save me, protect me, just do whatever you want to do. Okay, but I am your Nitya Das. And he doesn't say, Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't say, Krishna, I will surrender to you only if you give me this, this, and this. He doesn't go with a shopping list to Krishna. He says, do what you want. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the last verse of Shikshashtakam, that, do whatever you want to do, Krishna. You can, leave me, come in front of me, do whatever you do, but you will still be my Lord, my eternal Lord, because Mahaprabhu was speaking in the power of Radharani. So, Brahmaji, our verse up the pulpit says, our paragraph says that Brahmaji had previously told Narad Muni that his desires are never unfulfilled. And why? Because he's always absorbed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. And that shows how great a devotee Brahmaji is. And that immediately tells us why Krishna is giving him this truth, giving the truth to Lord Brahma and not to others, not to anybody else. Because happiness comes from serving the beloved, not serving the needs of oneself. So that's why Brahmaji says that, he was never unfulfilled, because he was always absorbed. He's always absorbed in serving the Lord. And just as the Lord's desire is flawless, is infallible, because he's Achyuta, similarly, the desires of a devotee who's in such a transcendental, he's performing such a transcendental service towards the Lord, is also flawless, is also a tutor, is also infallible. And that is the reason such pure devotees are always in peace, always happy, because their happiness comes directly from making Krishna happy. Now we are told again in the verse that, it's very difficult, about in the purport, that it's very difficult, however, for laymen to understand this, because this is a mystery. And without the knowledge of devotional service, not just knowledge, without experiencing that devotional service, it's very, very difficult to understand. And we are given the example of a touchstone, that, it is as rare as a touchstone to find such a true devotee who can really perceive and who can really experience this true love for Godhead. So there are so many devotees, and even, as in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Krishna says that, Arjuna, out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and then those of who have achieved perfection, so there are thousands of people. Out of them, there may be one person who can be, who can endeavor to be perfect. And out of those people, those very rare people who have achieved such perfection, hardly one person actually knows me, actually understands me, and truly loves me. So we can understand just how very rare it is to become a true devotee. So bhakti is not really automatically attained, otherwise it wouldn't be so rare. The Lord does not give out bhakti automatically. So we have to think of us as extremely fortunate that we have whatever little bit we are doing, we are able to do some service to the Lord. We are able to do that by the mercy of the Lord, by the mercy of our gurus. So it has to come from surrendering to the Lord. So the more we are able to surrender to the Lord, the deeper our love for Krishna arises. And the same thing the purport says, that the Lord can award liberation to anyone. Mukti and liberation from the bondage of material existence, that can be given to anyone. But he rarely awards the privilege of the love of Godhead. That is very, very rare. And Narad Muni confirms that in Srimad Bhagavatam, as we are given the quote in the paragraph 2, Srimad Bhagavatam 5.6.18, Narad Muni, it says that Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that Lord Krishna easily gives one liberation. I mean, he gave liberation even to Shishupal, someone who always used to talk bad about Krishna. He gave liberation to Putana, to all the demons, to all the people in the Kurukshetra war. He gave them liberation, but he did not give them love. So Prabhupada writes that, it's very, Krishna easily gives one liberation, but he does not so easily give the facility to become a devotee. Krishna Prema comes from the mercy of the Lord and the Guru. And the line Muktim dadati karhichit smana bhakti yogam, directly or indirectly, it is proved that bhakti yoga is the basis for all kinds of relationship with the Supreme Lord. And it is far, far superior to liberation. So for a pure devotee, mukti or liberation, that is automatically attained. One doesn't have to really endeavor to get mukti or liberation separately. If one loves Krishna, that comes automatically. But the bhakta, a true devotee, doesn't even think about liberation. Because what will they do being liberated? So, a bhakta would rather always be engaged in that loving relationship with Krishna. So to understand our true identity, again, going back to the first question, who am I? To understand the true identity even better, and knowing that not only are we part and parcel of Krishna, yes, our identity lies in loving Krishna, we also have to understand something else. Why is Krishna not giving us prema so easily? Why does Krishna give liberation so easily, but not prema easily? So the other part of really understanding who am I is not just loving Krishna, but the other part is also realizing that Krishna loves his devotees unconditionally, way more than even the devotees can love Krishna. He even, loves the atheists, people who don't even follow him. He loves them more. He gives them air to breathe. He gives them the material things to live on this material planet. So this has to be understood by the jivas as well, to realize, to identify what is my position, who am I? Yes, I am, a part or parcel of Krishna. I am Krishna's Nitya Das, but Krishna loves me too. And that is the reason Krishna tests. Krishna really wants to know that I love him before he awards me, or before he gives me that realization of Krishna Prem. Krishna automatically loves everybody. But for a devotee, Krishna says, Aham Bhakta Paradina. He says to Durvasa Muni in 9.4.63 in Srimad Bhagavatam. He says to the Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees. I am not at all independent, because my devotees are completely devoid of material desires, and so I sit only within the cause of their hearts. What to speak of my devotee? Even those who are devotees of my devotee, they are very dear to me. And so that is the true bhakta. That is the true exchange of love between Krishna and a devotee. So just being a jiva, just trying to do some bhakti is not our full identification of ourselves. It's this understanding that, yes, we love Krishna, that happiness of Krishna is the foremost for us. But also understanding that when we are at that stage, when one is at that stage, Krishna is actually controlled by the devotee. Krishna was completely controlled by the gopis. I mean, we see the rasas, the five main rasas we have in the spiritual world. So in the Shanta ras and in the Dasya ras, okay, the souls, they think that, yes, Krishna is the master. They have to serve Krishna. When it comes to Sakya ras, the souls think that they are equal to Krishna. So we see, the gopas in Vrindavan, they're playing with Krishna and, climbing on Krishna's shoulders, snatching food for him, or playing with him. So they think that Krishna is equal to them. When it goes to Vatsalya ras, they think Krishna is dependent on them. So Mother Yashoda would be very scared to let Krishna out all by himself. He would tell Balarama, just be careful, because all the demons, I don't know what the problem is, all the demons, they just come and attack my boy, my little boy. Please take care of him. So when one comes to Vatsalya ras, one thinks that one has to protect Krishna, otherwise Krishna will come to harm. That is the purity in love. And then when one reaches Madhurya Ras, it is all the rasas together. So it's not only thinking you're my friend, you're my master, you're my friend, and you are dependent on me, but there is that pure love that whatever I do, it's only, for your happiness. That's the same for all the other rasas as well. Whatever is done for the happiness of Krishna. But Madhurya Ras encompasses everything, and that's the topmost, where it's unthinkable what the gopis feel for Krishna, so much so, especially Radharani, so much so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to come, Krishna had to come as Mahaprabhu to understand the depth of Radharani's love, to understand what is it in him that Radharani likes, that makes Radharani so blissful in loving him. And that is what a true bhakta is. And so the purport in our verse today also makes us realize that to understand who we are, we have to understand what is the full meaning of being in our true constitutional position is of loving God. Because being a bhakta means not just being under the control of Krishna, but also being in control of Krishna, being a true bhakta. And so all the great stalwart personalities, like in the universe, whether it's Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, they're fully under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully under the control of his devotee. Why? Because the devotee is Anya Pilashita Sunya. Chaitamrita Madhya Leela 19.167. Anya Pilashita Sunya, meaning the devotee has no material desires in his heart. His only desire is to think always of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how to love him the best, how to serve him the best. And that is who we are. That is our identity. So so how much we have? Only 4 minutes. So, okay, so in our, I'll just finish with one little thing. So Narottam Thakur, in one of his poems, he says, Charya Vaishnav Seva Nishtarapaya Chikeva, meaning that without being a devotee, not just a devotee, but a devotee of a devotee, who can be released from this material entanglement? So the verse today also talks about how we should also not forget surrendering unto our gurus, our Shiksha gurus, our Diksha gurus, because without their knowledge, without their guidance, it is impossible to be able to even understand who, loving Krishna, leave apart understanding or trying to understand who we are. And so we are told, so again, Vishwanath Chakravarti, there are just so many examples. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that, Yassa Prasada Bhagavad Prasada, the very famous line, that if one sincerely serves the spiritual master, Krishna certainly becomes favorable to such a devotee. And so following the instructions of a devotee to Krishna is more valuable than following the instructions directly of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So once a devotee was asked, he was sitting in a temple, and there was the deity of Hanuman, and there was the deity of, sitting under, at the feet of Lord Rama and Sita, Mother Sita. There was the deities of Lord Rama and Mother Sita, and there was the deity of Hanuman. And this devotee was in the temple. He was not even looking at Lord Rama and Sita. He was just looking at Hanuman and praying to Hanuman. And then the priest comes in and says that, what are you doing? You're not even looking at the deities of the Lord and Mother Sita. And so this bhakta said, but what will I do looking at them? My own all attention is to Hanuman, because I know he's the one who can take me to Lord Ram and Mother Sita. I don't have the capacity to go to approach the Lord and the Mother myself. But I know this person, Hanumanji, he can take me to them. So my bhakti is towards him. So knowing who I am in this material world is knowing all of this together. Knowing that, I have to love, I have this connection with Krishna, to love him, and Krishna loves me equally too. And in this material world, I can only know that by, surrendering unto my guru, who can take me to the right path. And so in our journey of understanding and finding out who we are, we realize that, one's identity of being, what the true meaning is of, being Krishna's Nitya Das and loving Krishna. So I'll finish today by just another short pastime of Radha and Krishna. So where once Radharani, when Krishna was there playing his flute, and then Radharani goes up to Krishna and says, I want to play your flute, you play the flute so beautifully, we are all mesmerized by your, by your tunes. I want to play too. And Krishna says, no, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't be able to play the flute. And Radharani got a bit, but why do you think I can't play? No, just give it to me, give me your flute and I'll try to play. And Krishna says, no, you won't be able to play it. And then by that time, Lalita and Vishaka, they've all come. The other gopis had all come. And so Radharani complains to them that, look what Krishna is saying. He's saying that I can't play his flute. And then the gopis, they were all up against arms, up in arms against Krishna, saying, why are you doing this to Radharani? Give her the flute. And so Krishna, under pressure, gives her the flute to Radharani. And then Radharani tries to play the flute, and not a single sound would come out of the flute. Radharani tries again and again, and not a single sound would come out of it. And so Radharani said, what is the matter? What have you done? Krishna, you must have done some, magic or something. And, you're doing this deliberately. And Krishna says, no, that is the reason I told you it wouldn't work. Because when I am playing the flute, I am constantly thinking of you. And that is the mood in which I play the flute. So the flute, everything in the spiritual world is conscious. So the flute only plays when it is, when I think about you. So you have to think about yourself before the flute plays any tune. So you think about yourself, and Radharani thought about herself, and that is when the flute, had beautiful sounds come out of it. And so when we understand that, it's just another way of saying, Krishna telling us that, to be what it is to be a true bhakta, to be a pure devotee, someone who loves Krishna so much that Krishna cannot help but love us even more in return. And that is what our true identity is, to endeavor to love Krishna, in finding out who am I, to endeavor to love Krishna in such a way that Krishna would be forced to love us in a much more better way, than he already does. So I finish with this. Thank you very much again for giving me the opportunity to serve the Srimad Bhagavatam today. If I have made any mistakes, please correct me.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for today's session. It was excellent, and I really liked all the points that you made. And I really loved, and it opened my eyes because it's so natural to know that. But when you said it, it really sunk in that we carry Krishna in our heart. We carry Krishna within us. I mean, we know we are carrying Krishna. I mean, we have the soul and the super soul, but today it's the first time when I really realized it that yes, so I just imagine myself walking, how you carry a small child like that. I just imagine, oh, I'm carrying Krishna everywhere I go. So thank you for giving us that realization. Excellent class. Are there any questions or comments from Ila Mataji? You have a question? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much for the discourse. I wanted to ask, so when one achieves liberation, what is the experience that that person goes through?
So liberation, Mataji, is transcending the material things. So by overcoming Maya is liberation, because that is when you're eligible to go to the spiritual world. But just liberation by itself isn't the be-all and end-all, because you can still be liberated, free. So that is what the impersonalists and the Mayavadis, they look for liberation. And their liberation is just the overcoming Maya. They hate everything that has to do with Maya. So just overcoming Maya, they reach the Brahman, the effulgence, and they're happy there. But that is not everything. And we are told in the Shastra that even if you are liberated, even if you find yourself completely free from Maya, you may have that peace of mind of not being pulled down by illusion, by Maya. But even when you reach that state, what are you going to do? Because the innate nature of the soul is to always be active. So if you reach a state where you have nothing to do, you're above Maya, you're in complete peace, you're above Maya. But you're in a state of, you're in a static state. So your soul is in peace, but for how long? Because your soul is going to, start wanting to do something. And because the constitutional position of the soul is to serve Krishna, love Krishna, the soul is not going to be happy just being stagnant. So just the definition of liberation is to just overcome Maya, but it automatically comes to a bhakta, because a bhakta who loves Krishna automatically is liberated, overcomes Maya. But additionally, they also get to serve Krishna or get into a loving relationship with Krishna. Does that make sense, Mataji?
Yes, very much. Thank you. So then many devotees here and now have already achieved liberation then.
So, well, yes, you see devotees in the material world, they always have, a peaceful smile on their face. They are not at all disturbed by the highs and lows of life. In the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, such a person is called as Sthita Pragya, I think. The Bhagavad Gita defines such a person, a self-realized person who knows, who are not attached to Maya. So even being in this material world, they are detached. So they are liberated already. But they are beyond, they are still in this material world. They are serving Krishna in the ways Krishna wants them to serve. So there, they are completely surrendered to Krishna. As long as Krishna keeps them in this material world, they are serving Krishna here. If Krishna takes them to another universe, or if Krishna takes them to the spiritual world, they would be happy serving Krishna anywhere. Just as Bali Maharaj was happy to serve Krishna even in Sutala Loka. It doesn't matter to a pure devotee where they are, because they don't look for liberation. They look for serving Krishna. And wherever Krishna appoints them to serve him in whichever way, whichever position, wherever, they're ready to do that. So yes, there are, in answer to your question, yes, there are so many souls who are already liberated, and they are in this, in this world, because they are doing a service for Krishna. We see in the exalted devotees, so many of them. We see Prabhupada, Prabhupada was completely liberated. He lived in the spiritual world, and yet he remained in this material world just to be able to serve Krishna, serve his guru, and do the work that was assigned to him by his guru and by Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you very much, Mataji. There was a comment by Krishnatma Prabhu. He's saying some atheists are actually very well off materially. The Father is so loving that he gives them all the material things, everything. They have all the good looks, they have all the good money, they have everything. But they are atheists. So,
Oh,
yes.
Mataji, there's a very good reason for that. I don't know. Would anyone like to try, or why it is? So that is all because of their past karma, Prabhuji. All because of the good karma in their karmic bank balance. And so what happens is, and this is the reason, people don't, the true devotees, they don't want to go to the heavenly planets, because when one is surrounded with a lot of good fortune and opulence, one tends to forget Krishna. I mean, that is the reason Kunti Devi said, give me miseries more, because that is when I would remember you, Krishna, more. Because when one is surrounded, one gets, one has a lot of good karmic balance, and then they are born into very, very fortunate positions, or one goes up to the higher heavenly planets. But then that is all what you have in your bank balance, and they are enjoying that. What happens when all of that is spent? When all of that is spent, what will matter is what they have, what is left in their bank balance. So what they are doing currently, if they are atheists, they are doing adharmic things. What they are doing is they are actually accruing or building up their bad karma. So once all their good karma is spent, their bad karma from before and their bad karma from now together, that will really affect them in a not very nice way. So that is why the acharyas and the gurus say that what we have done in the past, we can't change that. We've done good, we've done bad, and because of that, we have some good karma or some bad karma. But what is in our hands is what we do now, because that establishes what will happen to us in the future. And in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, in chapter 4, Krishna says that bhakti, pure bhakti, is so strong that it has the power to completely wipe off our karmic balance. Whether it's our prarabdha karma or prarabdha karma, bhakti has that, bhakti and has that power. Krishna takes charge of us. So we've heard about how, something worse could have happened, but Krishna minimizes it if one is a devotee. Sometimes Krishna just gives us bad dreams or nightmares. He's so merciful that he doesn't even let us, face that in real life. He takes off that bad karmic balance just through a bad nightmare. Krishna is so merciful. But we have to understand that if we continue to do bad, Krishna is not going to do that. Krishna is only going to help us if we endeavor to do good. So every atheist who are in a very good position now, all they are doing is they are spending up their good karmic balance. And then what will be left for them in the future is only the bad karma they're accruing now and their bad karma from before. Does it make sense, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna. On that note, Prasanatma Prabhu, is it possible for you to end the session for us today? Hare Krishna, we have
Yes.
exceeded our time.
Thank you for allowing me to end this session, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful class, reminding us about the very rare thing that we have, especially called bhakti. So it's always a wake up call every day. We can get to hear this slap our cheeks completely, try to wake up and notice what we really have in our hands. And yeah. So because of time, I won't say so much. Maybe we can just try to do our best in our southern directions. Thank you so much for the inspiring class. I request the assembled devotees who I also thank for joining on this session every day to please unmute and thank Mataji for the wonderful session today. Please let's join. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Panchali Kar Matajo
Namo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Bhagavatam ki
Great
Panchali
Panchali Mataji ki Jai.
glories to the
Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.